The Los Angeles Dodgers defeat the New York Yankees in Game 5 of the World Series and win the World Series with a 7-6 victory. I'm Ryan Sampson. This is the Pinstripe Post Postgame live show, host and producer of this show. That's my guy, Mike Vaccaro, New York Post columnist. We're here to talk about it. We're here to break it all down. What was quite an unbelievable game here in Game 5. What started off to look like an absolute amazing game that the Yankees were going to go ahead and win and force a Game 6 came crashing down. And now we're at this moment, Mike, of what the hell just happened. Your initial reaction right now of what you saw tonight.
I think it's going to be the longest off season in many years for Yankees fans, because not only do you have 100 things to keep you awake tonight and tomorrow night and some few nights next week about this game. That fifth inning was just hard to believe, hard to describe. But now, of course, we're all kind of together on the universal Juan Soto watch, and that kind of holds in its hands a lot about what the Yankees are going to be in the next couple of years. Look, if he signs on, I've said all along, I think he's going to sign back with them. And if he does, you know what? They'll have a bunch of other cracks at this thing. Without him, there's going to have to be some tinkering and some toying and, a little bit of it back to the drawing board. That's for the coming days to worry about. For now, it's just going to be very upsetting how they lost this game. 5-0, Cole on the mound with stuff. And then all of a sudden, the most reliable players just completely self-destruct. The error in center field, which is inexplicable. The ill-fated throw by Volpe to third base, he probably could have just gone to first or eaten it. But I mean, he did, by making the throw the way he did, that's another extra out. And then inexplicably, I mean, I really want to know what was going through Cole's mind when he didn't move off the mound to cover the mound. You know what, Ryan? I mean, half of the New York baseball season almost ended on the last day of September because Edwin Diaz didn't cover first base. And on the next to last day of October, the other half of the season, one of the reasons that wound up not coming to a close, coming to a premature ending, is because another pitcher didn't cover first base. And those are the hard things to get around. Forgetting the way the Dodgers came back after the Yankees took the lead, 2 sacrifice flies and helped along by a catcher's interference. I mean, you don't see those that every day either. So, and look, I mean, they got a lights out performance in the 8th inning from Trinan, hitting getting out the absolute meat of the Yankees order, 2 through 5. And then in the 9th, Walker Buehler came in and 1-2-3'd them. And there's going to be a lot of images from this game that are going to keep a lot of people up for a lot of hours tonight, tomorrow night, next week.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I don't know where to start with this. I mean, the judge, start with the judge storyline, right? He comes in.
Well, what did we say last night? We called this last night.
I know.
We both said, what if Cole goes 1-2-3, get a man on for Judge, and he goes to the short porch?
First pitch.
That's exactly what happened.
First pitch.
On this little gathering last night, you and I said, well, what if that happens? And we thought, well, if that happens, the place will explode. The Dodgers will just mentally move ahead to Game 6, and on we go. And that's exactly what happened because they poured it on after that. It was 5-0. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no.
When Judge's ball went out of the park, I couldn't wait to come on here with you tonight to tell us, to congratulate each other about how smart we were.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I literally said before it happened, I think he's going to hit a home run. We talked about this last night, and he just went first pitch, took it to the right field, and you're like, oh my God, they're going to do this. They're going to force the first Game 6 ever for a team down 3-0 in the World Series. Then Jazz hits a home run. You go back to back. You're like, oh my God, this team, this is like, they're awake. They're performing. They're mashing. This is what we've seen all season long. They just awoke Aaron Judge. And that, for me, it gives you such, and let's not forget, Stan's home run too. You're up 5-0.
5-0.
5-0.
5-0 with Cole on the mound with stuff.
And he hadn't given up.
Innings and was cruising.
To your point. And in the 5th inning, for Judge to drop that ball, and don't forget, Judge made the incredible catch the inning prior in 4th inning in left center. Incredible catch. I was like, oh my God, I hope he's okay. But like, that was an insane catch. It just, this has been the summarization of this Yankees team this year. They are talented to hell. They are one of the most talented squads ever put together. They went all in for Juan Soto, Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Jazz Chisholm, all these players they got. And for it to melt down the way it did in the 5th inning, Mike, 5 unearned runs. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. That's unacceptable. That is abysmal. And I know guys are going to hold on to this for the rest of the offseason, and they should, but that is Little League BS right there, man. You can't have that in Game 5 of the World Series, dropping easy fly balls, grounding and dirting throws to third base or eating it. And ultimately, what you're taught from day one, Garrett Cole, you're our ace. You're our $300 million pitcher, not covering first base on a ground ball. 2 outs. It was the last out in the inning.
Not only that, but I mean, if you do what you're supposed to do, you get regardless of the 2 errors, you get out of that, you're still up 5-0. You're going to win the game there. I mean, let's be honest. You're going to win the game. I don't care what kind of miracles the Dodgers have in their back pocket, but it's like we said at the beginning of this, for whoever missed it. I mean, you can't give the White Sox 6 outs and expect to get out of an inning unscathed. You're certainly not going to give a team that won 98 games and just won the World Series in 5 games 6 outs and expect to be able to get away with it. And that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden, because Mookie's on first when the inning should have been over, you give Freddie Freeman a chance to swing. You give all these guys a chance to swing, Teoscar Hernandez, and guess what happens? It's 5-5. And they were actually lucky that they weren't behind at the end of that inning. So that's what's going to hold. I think this game is going to leave more of a mark even than Game 1 did. As disappointing as Game 1 was, with all the second guessing and all the and the fact they lost on a walk-off grand slam. I think this game is going to, and of course it probably should because it's an elimination game. But it's just hard to fathom that we're having this conversation because 2 hours ago it was 5-0 Yankees, and you figured, okay,
Mike, they were cruising to a victory. They were cruising to get ready to go LA and go to Game 6.
You're still only halfway home in terms of doing what the Red Sox did 20 years ago. It kind of reemphasizes just how hard that is to do. But you know what? If you do it, you're taking a shot. And all of a sudden, the Dodgers are the ones who were thinking. And every time they get a guy on base on Friday night, they're the ones who are maybe tensing up a little bit. And the Yankees are playing with all kinds of confidence and all kinds of swagger and all kinds of heist money, and it doesn't matter because you can't get out of the 5th inning. And then you couldn't hold the lead late either. I mean, look, Weaver's been great.
Yeah.
For ever since they've given him that job, and he gave those 2 runs on 2 outs. So you can kind of argue he did his job tonight also. But it's gonna be a difficult one to live with. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I said it on social media. I think Cole's going to be remembering that play the rest of his life, not covering first base. And, again, I give you respect for coming back out for the 6th inning and going into the 7th inning as well. But there was so much there in that inning, Mike. And I also saw a lot of this too. Why didn't Boone come out or even Matt Blake to calm Cole down a little bit in that middle of that whole fiasco that's going on? And say, listen, man, calm down. We're all making errors here. Let's figure this out. We still have a chance to keep them down to 3 runs or 2 runs here, even though you couldn't keep them down to 0. I thought that was a missed opportunity and a miscalculation from Boone in the highest moment as well. It was just, it was not good at all, that entire 5th inning, from the coaching staff all the way to the players and what they were not able to execute.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that maybe Boone or Blake could have come out with, magic words that might have made something different. But look, I mean, the entire inning, it's amazing. I mean, they had the 2 errors, and they were still going to get out of it. And they were still going to get out of it until Garrett Cole doesn't cover first base. And think about the roar when you're in all this trouble, and he would have gone, strikeout, feeble roller to first. The last 2 batters being Ohtani and Betts. That place would have gone crazy. And all of a sudden, the Dodgers are thinking, you know what? We got the big hit all year. We didn't get it now. I mean, the game is over if they get out of the 5th inning. And they should have been out of the 5th inning. I mean, it shouldn't have been as hard as it was. But even as hard as it was, with the bases loaded, they should have been out of the inning.
And they gave away Game 1 and Game 5 now.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is just.
You know what? You give away a couple of games in July. You have a lot of time to recover. You give away 2 games in October, not so much.
The worst possible time. The worst possible time.
I'm not laughing. It's not funny. I mean,
No.
I don't want anybody here listening to us thinking that I think this is funny. It's not.
No.
But it's one of those things, right? I mean, you either laugh or you cry.
Mike, that
It's
in your in all of your time covering sports, have you ever seen a collapse like that in an inning, or just like a team just totally completely unravel at the highest stage in the most important game of the year?
Well, I saw the Knicks blow an 8-point lead with about 12 seconds to go last year against the Sixers. So, in other sports, yeah. Look, I mean, I didn't cover the games, but obviously the Mets being, one strike away in Game 6 against the Red Sox in '86, that's got to be up there. In terms of just inexplicable heartbreak. There are other games like that, but you know what? It doesn't matter. But the other games don't matter to anybody in this room right now. All they care about is this game, this team, how it ended, why it ended, how it ended. And you know what? Right to the end, I thought, it just really would be perfect that all these screw ups, and this is such an imperfect and flawed team. Wouldn't it just be perfect if they got a bloop and a blast in the ninth inning and they survive anyway? And I really believe that might happen. I mean, why not? I mean, Volpe and Wells were the heroes last night. Why not do it again tonight? But not to be.
Yeah, and I'm a little sick and tired of the like. Listen, I know the Dodgers are the best team in the National League, and I know that they're a relentless team and they wear you down. But tonight, and just like in Game 1, again, you gave up this game, and let's not forget the runs that they scored to tie and go ahead late in the game were both sack flies because Tommy Kahnle comes in after you had taken the lead again. And Stanton had the sack fly also. I wish he had got. Listen, I can't kill him because he had an incredible postseason again. The sack fly did get the run in, but that felt like another missed opportunity because the Yankees got runners on, and he had an opportunity to really put some damage there. Maybe get a single, gets more runs. You only get the one run there, and then Kahnle comes in, and what is up with him? The was it 65 or 60 something straight changeup pitches he throws, and he gets the bases loaded. I know one of them was a shattered single to left part of the infield, but he couldn't throw anything but a changeup, and then they were all over it.
It does beg the question. I know that Smoltz asked this question a bunch, and really anybody who sees a pitcher who throws a lot of changeups like that, what exactly are you changing up against? The changeup is supposed to be most effective when it's changing off a guy's fastball. But look, I mean, he believes in that pitch. I mean, he had a lot of success with that pitch. I mean, look, the World Series are always made by guys who rise to occasions and guys who shrink from occasions. And hard as it is to state, it's definitive. The Dodgers, to a man, rose to the occasion tonight, and the Yankees shrank from it. More. I think the Yankees shrank from it more than the Dodgers rose from it. There were some big hits too. I mean, Hernandez's hit was a huge one.
Yep.
Freddie Freeman's was a huge one, obviously, but they wouldn't have had the opportunity if the Yankees hadn't done a lot of shrinking first. And that's what happens. I mean, you go through every World Series. When I was growing up, Bill Gallo in the Daily News used to have a cartoon every day of the World Series, the hero and the goat. And there's always one, and there's always another. And he put a goat horns on one and laurels on the other. And unfortunately, if they did that today, there'd probably be about 7 or 8 Yankee candidates for the goat because it really was a team effort.
Yeah. And Freddie Freeman again killed them again tonight. He was a killer all World Series. Credit to him, and they could not get him out for the life of them, and he just battled, and he was a real force for them in that. He just won MVP, by the way, of the World Series.
Look, he's a guy. Look, what I was saying. He rose to the occasion. All 5 games, obviously, and some players do. Look, and here's the other thing that's going to drive Yankees fans nuts is it really did seem like Judge got right tonight. You and I talked about this last night, Ryan, that maybe that hard hit single in the 8th inning of a blowout got him going. And it seemed to, because he hit the home run in the first, the sharp double, with one out in the 8th, that I thought was really going to set them up, and it didn't happen. I mean, you wonder if they just could have gotten to Game 6. Is Judge now back to being Judge? Is he a guy who now in the last 2 games in LA is going to give you 3 homers and 7 RBIs in those last 2 games?
He had a double late in the game in the 8th inning. He set up the tying run at that point.
I mean, we'll never know because it did seem like he finally got right, but just as he was getting right, the season ends. So.
Yeah, that's just the story of this team, man. And what was this season for them? We talked about this, Mike. The sloppy baseball. Joel has hammered me on this all year long.
Yep.
This team plays baseball not good, and they don't run the bases well. They don't play defense well. They have these mental errors. And
There were a lot of people out there, and I think you can see a few of them on the side. Not big Aaron Boone fans to begin with, and they certainly have plenty of fodder. Not only because of his game 1 decision, but because of the way his team played today. That's if you're going to rip Aaron Boone, you start with the fact that his team isn't always the crispest that it could be, and we saw that tonight in the absolute worst possible moment.
Yeah, I mean, the Volpe, again, I agree with you. That's the one that does kill me too, besides the Garrett Cole one. The Volpe one, I wish he would have just thrown it to second to force either try to get the double play or at least get one out there to make that really hard play in the third. And he rushed the throw because, again, this is the Dodgers who don't take 90 feet for granted. They're going to run the bases as hard as they can and make you forced to make that throw. And they force you to make a bad throw in that situation. And that's what kills you.
You're up for 5 runs. You take an out over a potential run every single
Amen.
time.
Amen, Mike. So you bring up the Boone point. Aaron Boone has no contract after this. This is it. So the question is this the final game Aaron Boone's managed with the New York Yankees?
I think I think that the way this World Series went, I mean, I would have thought that if he got to the World Series, he would have been safe, and he may still well be. But I think that the way this World Series went, he managed to actually put himself back in play in terms of, is this a guy we want to have long term? I've always been a staunch Boone defender. You don't find just anybody off the street who's going to be able to win you 95, 96 games every year, and he does. And I get it. People say you just roll the balls out. The Yankees will win 95 games every year. What we saw last year, that's not the case. We saw a couple of years under Girardi. That's not the case. I mean, this guy, I think, is a very good manager. Is he, Miller Huggins? No. Is he, could he stand out a little Billy Martin in him, I guess? I don't know. I mean, I know that's the other thing that people don't like about him is that he seems to be a little bit too laid back. I do think you can definitely question his strategic decisions this series and the overall malaise the Yankees, went in time to time the series, but, most the greatest example being the 5th inning when the whole season basically went up in flames.
Yeah, and it's the accountability that kills me the most. I know managers and the way sports are now is that guys aren't going to rip them in the media. Like, that's fine. Don't rip them in the media. But it's a matter of if you're going to hold them accountable behind doors, get these errors fixed. Yeah. Stop these base running errors. Stop these blunders in the field. And they haven't stopped. And it cost you literally the World Series tonight because of them. And that's on you as the manager. The players have to execute. Don't get me wrong. If you were to rank it, Mike, how would you rank it? Is it the players? Is it the manager? Is it Cashman who selects these players? How would you rank this for the Yankees and considering how you place the blame for them losing this World Series?
Players 1, Boone 2, Cashman 3. I mean, I think that the players were obviously there to win however many games they won, 94 games, finished in first place. Go 7-2 in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. I mean, say what you will about the American League Central, they're still playoff teams. Both those teams have beaten other teams to get there. So, so I mean, you're still good enough. They didn't play well enough in the series. You had to be at your best to beat the Dodgers, and they weren't anywhere close to their best. And maybe you had to be even play a little above your heads to beat the Dodgers, and they didn't come close to that. So, look, I mean, I think everybody is in for blame. I mean, could Boone have gotten a couple more arms at the deadline? Sure. Cashman get a couple more arms at the deadline. Sure. I mean, could Boone have done a better job? Clearly, we're talking about this chapter and verse how much different a job he could have done. But could the players have played better? Absolutely. I mean, and that's the sad part about the way the seasons like this end. I mean, by rights we should be still having parties about the home run that Soto hit to win the ALCS, but that's going to be a footnote now.
Yeah.
The same way Endy Chavez's catch was a footnote in a game the Mets lost. No one remembers that as fondly as they should because the Mets lost that game. No one's going to remember all the wonderful moments that happened leading up to this because of the way it ended. It's just the way it is. That's how baseball is. It's a very heartbreaking game on a lot of different levels, and that's just another one.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about Soto here in a sec, but I do want to give you this. I mean, since 2013, the Yankees are 6-0 in playoff series against American League Central teams and 0-6 in any playoff series against all other postseason opponents.
So record-wise, people want to tell you they're American League Central, bullies. they have it right. I mean, you can't argue those numbers.
Record-wise, the Yankees are 19-6 against the American League Central teams in the playoffs and 10-24 against other postseason opponents during that span since 2013.
A lot of those are the Astros, but now you can add the Dodgers to that miserable total too.
Which again, and I understand why a lot of fans are probably going to cry that this team, had the easiest path to the World Series, but they did get there. And just again, I'm going to now forever hold this in my memory now of Game 1 and Game 5, mostly with this fifth inning. You blew an opportunity because, Mike, you really could have been up 3-2 in the series if everything had gone the way you were looking to go, and you didn't blow those two games, right? You'd be the Yankees going 3-2 right now, up back in LA. If things had played out differently. Let's talk about the Juan Soto factor here. You talked about that home run. I thought that was one of the biggest home runs I've seen in a long time here in Yankee history. The guy is special.
Sure is.
He's now officially a free agent. How do the Yankees play this? Because I don't know about you, Mike. They could still use a couple more bats. This first base production, Rizzo gave you absolutely nothing in this playoffs and World Series. He was just a bat to ball contact guy. And Jazz, I wonder if he's gonna move to second base because Glaber is a free agent as well. There's other pieces that need to be filled out in this lineup. Verdugo's a free agent as well. There's a lot of bullpen pieces that are gonna be free agents, but Juan Soto's the big one. How does Cashman and the Yankees figure out this Juan Soto part of this equation?
Well, it's pretty easy. You got to sign him. I mean, because let's be very frank. If he doesn't sign with the Yankees, there's an awfully good chance the team he's going to sign with is the Mets. And then all of a sudden, you won't remember this year at all. And look, I mean, I think that with the Yankees make a lot of money. They can afford Juan Soto. It's a matter of whether they want to pay Juan Soto. And they know who they're going up against. They were spared that 2 years ago when they were going after Judge, kind of a neighborly thing of Steve Cohen to do. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near as neighborly now because I think his entire offseason plan now is going to be based around whether they can get Juan Soto's name on a contract. So they got to be willing to step up. Scott Boras is his agent. He doesn't usually give hometown discounts, and he usually waits out to see what the absolute highest bid is. So I think the Yankees better be prepared to step up because they really need this guy. I mean, they showed this year, just how dangerous that 1-2 punch can be. But then if you start adding another bat or two around them that you can rely on, that don't go into enormous funks. I mean, Verdugo kind of, he had a cleanup for so long this year, and he really didn't hit after June until maybe the last couple of days. So there are other things you need to add, but you can't start this process by subtracting maybe the third or fourth best player in baseball.
Yeah, Mike. Again, we want to thank all the fans that are watching right now. This is the Pinstripe Post game show. The Yankees lose the World Series to the Dodgers 7-6 in Game 5. They did not make that comeback that you were hoping for. Starting off 3-0 down in the series, they put themselves in this hole. That is the situation they had to get themselves and climb out of, trying to do something that's never done before. And we just get the most epic of collapses and meltdowns in the fifth inning tonight, blowing a 5-0 lead. Mike, final thoughts for you, wrapping up this Yankee season. A season that started, like I said, again, they were all in. They were trying to go for it this year and win that 28th World Championship or 27th 28th World Championship. My mind is bottled right now.
Good.
Final thoughts for you on this Yankees roster and the Yankees team and what they were able to do this year.
I get it. I understand that the Yankee standard is different than every other team in sports. I get it. I understand. It's championship or bust. I get that. The problem with doing that is that you tend to forget the good times. And look, the great thing about baseball season is it's our summer, and the Yankees gave you a lot of great moments this summer. Those two guys alone gave you incredible moments this summer. And I get it. Right now everybody wants to rip Judge and they want to rip the team because they couldn't even get it back to LA. I get it. I get it. And I get that the standard around the Yankees is higher than anywhere else in the world. That said, I hope that in a couple of days, week maybe, you can look back and say, that was a pretty damn good year. We got to the World Series. There are a lot of fan bases that would give anything in their power to get to the World Series twice in a lifetime. And, you got back here after 15 years. You really do have the promise of getting back again if you can keep this nucleus intact. And you just look forward. I mean, I get it. The Dodgers aren't going to go anywhere, and you figure that the American League is going to be a little stronger next year. But so are the Yankees, And look, I get it. Disappointing, and they didn't play well, and that kind of puts a downer on things. But it was still a very successful year. I firmly believe that you can have a successful year and not win a championship.
I want to believe you, Mike. I really do. It's just like that. The way this thing.
It's hard to make that. It's hard to come to that conclusion right now. I get it.
Especially with just the way it looked, right? Like the way it looked at the end, and like you said, they didn't play well.
Nope.
They haven't played well baseball wise this entire year.
That's the hardest part.
That is the hardest part, man. It really is. Mike Vaccaro, I appreciate you riding this World Series train with me, doing these post games with me, and listening to me vent a little bit as a crazy Yankees fan. Like I said, Yankees lose the World Series to the Dodgers, 7-6, Game 5, 4-1 in the series total. Freddie Freeman's your World Series MVP. Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Aaron Boone, Anthony Volpe, all these guys, they lose, and we'll see what happens with Boone and Soto and how they decide to address this roster. And Mike, appreciate you as always, brother.
Great talking to you, Ryan. To the people who were here all night in the last couple of nights, sorry about the way it ended, but you know what? It's been a fun ride, so just try to remember that.
Mike, you're the man.